Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April 21st, 2026 meeting of the Town of Chatham Select Board. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. Seeing none, pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28th, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30th, 2027, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. First order of business is to ensure a quorum. Ms. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Dykens?
Present.
Mr. Metters?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
And the chair is present. The board will initially go into executive session this evening. We got a last-minute request to move this to later in the meeting, but I cannot honor that because we have multiple parties who are scheduled to be in attendance at the executive session. So let me read the executive session item first, and then I'm going to offer a motion. This is going to take a while because it's a long item. First item on the agenda is an executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, parenthesis A, parenthesis 6, to discuss strategy with respect to the potential acquisition of easements and land to facilitate access to the following Chatham Town landings / water access sites if the chair so declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the body with return to open session. 1 Andrew Harding's Lane, 2 Barn Hill, 3 Battlefield, 4 Bursis Lane, 5 Bridge Street, 6 Bridge Street East, 7 Champlain Road, 8 Claflin, 9 Kochpinnicut, 10 Cow Yard, 11 Crow's Pond, 12 Eliphamitz Lane, 13 Fish Pier, 14 Goose Pond, 15 Holloway Street, 16 Little Mill Pond, 17 Mill Creek, 18 Mistover Lane, 19 Morris Island Dyke, 20 Old Mill Boatyard, 21 Oyster Pond Furlong, 22 Point Fortune, 23 Ridgevale Road South, 24 Riders Cove, 25 Scattery, 26 Sears Road, 27 Stage Harbor Point, 28 Strong Island, 29 Taylor's Pond, 30 Vineyard, 31 Water Street East, 32 Water Street West, 33 White Pond. I'm going to now offer a motion. I'm going to have to repeat all this to go into executive session. That the board go into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, parenthesis A, parenthesis 6, to discuss strategy with respect to the potential acquisition of easements and land to facilitate access to the following Chatham Town landings / water access sites if the chair so declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the body with return to open session. 1 Andrew Harding's Lane, 2 Barn Hill, 3 Battlefield, 4 Bierce's Lane, 5 Bridge Street, 6 Bridge Street East, 7 Champlain Road, 8 Claflin, 9 Kochpinnicut, 10 Cow Yard, 11 Crow's Pond, 12 Elifamitz Lane, 13 Fish Spear, 14 Goose Pond, 15 Hallway Street, 16 Little Mill Pond, 17 Mill Creek, 18 Mistover Lane, 19 Morris Island Dike, 20 Old Mill Boatyard, 21 Oyster Pond Furlong, 22 Point Fortune, 23 Ridgeville Road South, 24 Riders Cove, 25 Scattery, 26 Sears Pond, 27 Stage Harbor Point, 28 Strong Island, 29 Taylor's Pond, 30 Vineyard, 31 Water Street East, 31 Water Street West, 33 White Pond. Do I have a second?
Second.
I will call, thank you. Moved and seconded, I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The board will now go into executive session. I can't guarantee when we're going to come out, but I'm going to try to keep this under an hour, if possible. So I would ask those who are not invited into the executive session, if you would kindly leave the room. We will close the doors, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Are we back? Okay, we're back in public session. Proceeding with the regular agenda, we don't have any minutes this evening. Next item is public announcements, and it's on. Okay, we're back in public session, proceeding with the items on the regular agenda. We do not have any sets of minutes for approval tonight. The next item is public announcements and agenda item requests. I have first one, myself, to note that the deadline to register to vote, if you are not already registered for the annual town meeting and the annual town election, is May 1st, 2026 by 5:00 p.m. With the town clerk. I'll ask our other members of the board if you have any public announcements or agenda item requests. No. And then I have Stephen Buckley. Stephen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, Steve Buckley, and I would request, and this may come up for discussion later, I would like to request that the committee handbook, which was last revised in 2016, 10 years ago to this month, actually, that it be revised, and that the rather than have a single select board member be the author of that revision, like it was last time, that there be an ad hoc, or not, I guess, a task force or a task group be involved in revising and updating it. So, and like I said, this might come up for discussion, but I thought I'd put it forth now as an agenda item request. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I know one of our colleagues up here is looking at that right now, but we'll add that to the list. Anybody else with an agenda item request or public announcement? Somebody is, and their hand is not up, so I guess that's not the case. Greg Berman, you have, our Director of Natural Resources, you have an item.
Yes, thank you. We just wanted to let people know about the upcoming health fair. It'll be held in Harwich, but it's a regional event. We encourage people from Chatham to attend. This flyer is also available on our town website under Health Division. And if you're looking for transportation, please contact the COA at 508-945-5190 by this Thursday in order to reserve a seat on the bus. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Okay. I think that completes that item. We have no public hearing tonight. There's no consent agenda. The next item are public comments on the business agenda. You can make them now, or you can make them during the individual items. I don't see anybody who wants to speak right now. So we'll proceed with the regular business agenda. The first item is Fisherman's Storage Area, discussion of license status and direction on future use alternatives if warranted. And Jill, I guess I'll turn to you initially.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So staff tonight wanted to present the board with either receiving direction on status quo, or if there's anything else the board would like to consider for the Fisherman's Storage Area. The current licenses expire in March 2027. Greg and Jason prepared a staff report for your review. And if you have any further questions about license versus lease, our town council, Jay Tallerman, is here to answer any questions.
Okay. Turning to you guys. Greg and Jason.
Yes, thank you. Greg Berman, your Director of Natural Resources. With me is Jason Holm, your Harbor Master. So for the past 2 years, the Fisherman's Storage Area, I believe, has been working the way it was intended. We have 3 Town of Chatham residents using that for storage. We have done periodic inspections, certainly before every license renewal period, and they have been abiding by the license. We are currently within the last year of the 3-year license that we set up. At this point, we would like some guidance from the select board with regard to moving forward, whether we just keep doing our 3-year licenses. It probably shouldn't be longer than that. Licenses are supposed to be relatively short. as, our license versus lease guidance was given. But then also, if one of these three decides not to renew or does something against the license, what would be the process for bringing somebody new into the fisherman's storage area? It's our initial thought that it would potentially be a lottery system for other Chatham residents who are commercial fishermen, but wanted to give the select board the opportunity to provide guidance. Thank you.
What are the current eligibility criteria that's referenced in your memo?
That was provided about 3 years ago by the select board to do the 3-year license to town of Chatham residents who are commercial fishermen, who also were currently, I believe license was the right word, but they had space at the airport facility and wastewater treatment facility after that.
So they have permits at the old airport storage.
So what do they have to show now to be eligible to participate?
So right now, we're still in that initial period where they had potentially 3 years under that.
Okay.
So it was just the three who had that license last time.
And the current licensees are interested in staying?
If you'd like to have public comment, I think a lot of them could share that information this evening.
Okay,
But
but
we
we-
have heard that they are interested.
We
in
can do
continuing.
that momentarily, but I'll turn to Jason. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just say, all three are in attendance tonight, and all three have indicated their desire to continue. It's just,
I'd like to continue.
yes.
Corey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I mean, this goes back to, we had the fisherman storage area that was on the airport property, and I'm not sure exactly how many individuals used the property at that time, but some had interest in staying, some didn't interest. We had a bit of a cleanup issue. We worked all that out. We identified a relatively smaller group of individuals who wanted to stay, I don't know why it's buzzing, and use a fisherman storage area. We identified a location. We went to town meeting. We got funding. We built it. The tenants have been good tenants. I think personally, status quo makes a lot of sense. I think it would be our duty to understand if the fee that we're charging is fair, or do we need a small incremental increase, just to understand, be fair market. I think I looked at this as we were trying to accommodate those who were getting displaced from the other location, it kind of provide a service for them. I didn't see this as us expanding into, if we want to create more land and try to, get 6, 8, 10 individuals to rent a fisherman storage area, that's one thing. I didn't think that was our intention. So I'm not advocating that we try to go to a bigger area. But as long as those individuals that we try to help who are displaced from the old fisherman storage area are in good standing, I would be inclined to go status quo. If someone were to leave, I guess probably the only reasonable, process would be a lottery. I don't know, maybe step one would be to see if any of the existing tenants wanted more space first, because we kind of didn't have a set dimensional for each person. We're like, okay, how much do you want? How much do you want? And that's where we ended up with 3. We kind of moved the blocks around a little bit, so there was some flexibility in that. So I'm looking to kind of keep this simple. If it's working, why try to break, why try to fix it? So if there's an interest and they're in good standing, let's keep it going for another 3 years.
We could do lottery or wait list, too. It's a couple of different mechanisms that we could do. I just often get asked, and I'm sure Greg does too, just how do we get a spot there? And, based off the last guidance, it wasn't really anything past that first license agreement. So we're kind of left not exactly knowing what policy is kind of covering that.
Do you have other people that want to?
I've had interest, yes.
Yeah. Shireen, you were next.
Yes, I was. If the stewardship of the area has been successful, and these 3 businesses have shown that they're in good standing with the town, and this is all part of their business plan, and to disrupt or change any policy midstream doesn't seem to be as fair or equitable. And I would want to see the status quo stay the way it is. One of the things, though, I think that's really important that we have to look at is, again, this is, there's not a lot of area in Chatham that's available for working waterfront storage. Our industrial parks are just, they're crammed in, and it seems to be a huge demand in those areas for boat storage for the marinas. I know that up in Commerce Park, one of the marinas is just buying up every available site they can, and there's big money in storing boats anyway. But I would look at it and look at this in just further is to, make the license renewable based on good standing, but also maybe look at the idea of putting this out to the Working Waterfront Committee to say or some committee that would look at it, maybe Economic Development, I don't know, or maybe all, or even the Select Board, just to look at it and say, what is the need base? What's the demand? Do we have a policy in place, a management plan? And does that plan include expansion? And what would that expansion look like? At least looking forward thinking in saying, that there's a need. If you need to justify the need, that would be maybe economic development, looking at the needs-based part of that. But I think we should be, passionate about working waterfront, supporting the commercial fishing industry as a community that has a long history.
Greg?
So I did just want to mention that I would request a little bit of hesitance before talk of expansion. The town has a lot of storage needs also, specifically for harbor master and shellfish. We've been exploring a lot of areas for that. We've even been exploring the area immediately south of the fisherman's storage area. I'd like to think, immediate town storage needs should be assessed before expansion of fisherman's storage area. And, once we get that assessment in place, I think that's a very reasonable idea. Just want to make sure we don't give up something that we're going to need later.
I cannot not disagree with you. I do understand the need, and we've talked about that in several executive sessions, so looking at properties and whatnot. I just think that if maybe there's a duality here, that you're looking at an abutting property with a common interest of storage and facilities, and is there opportunity? I'm not demanding that there be an expansion, to just keep it open to expansion, and then, but I would not want to disrupt the existing folks that have been there simply for the fact that they hung in at the treatment plant as leasees or potential leasees in hopes of getting this space. But I also know that there is people that have been looking for area as well.
Jeff and then Stuart.
No, I think I think it's not broke. You don't fix it. I think these folks have successfully stored their stuff there, their fishing gear there. 100% in favor of supporting the local fishing industry, as you folks well know. The only question I really had, Dean asked, but is there a waiting list now? Is there distinct deep interest in more storage facilities, or not by the commercial fishermen?
So I'll let Jason answer too. I've had one or two people reach out, and we have not started a waiting list because we haven't really advertised that we would. We don't want people to, kind of get first in line for asking. That's why we're thinking of a lottery system, or if we want a waiting list, we can announce when that would start.
There's no policy governing what we would charge for a wait list either. So or would we charge? So there's been a little bit of interest. Going back to when this came about, and please correct me if I'm wrong from your own memories, but these three were the ones that really, the Chatham residents left, that really came to the meetings, pursued this. And at the time, there was a ton of surveys that was sent out on this, and they were the last three standing of Chatham residents. So at least 3 years ago, the need was these folks here, and if there was other need, then people just didn't speak up. Since then, we have a few here and there. I think across the fleet, you would hear that people needed it. It's just a matter of will they speak up or will they advocate for that need a little bit more. And to date, I don't know what that survey would look like at this time, but I know back then, at least from my own memory, that these were the three that put in the work and came advocating for more space.
Yeah, I have no intention to upset the apple cart. I mean, I think these guys are kind of grandfathered, if you will, and they've done a good job. But the only thing that would shake or it would change my opinion or my thoughts on it, at least, would be if there was really strong interest by others. And then there's maybe pent-up demand, but there isn't, so it doesn't sound like there is. So,
Stuart?
I would keep the status quo.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we built this place, and we ought to continue to use it. And these folks are the ones who were last standing, if you can put it, Jason, correctly, and pursued it. How much property is up there? You know, I'm kind of recalling back about the maps that expanded the leaching fields, if you will, at the treatment plant, and it seemed to me that there was additional property that we could look at for fishermen storage of for residential commercial fishermen, as Shireen points out correctly. You know, real estate is ridiculous, and this is really going to become quite critical if it isn't already. These three are, you know, they're good tenants. I think we just continue, but I think we should look at what our options are there for the future, and then maybe you could come back after you chat with the committee about, you know, how would we go about for the next step, whether it be a waiting list or a waiting list and then a lottery. And I mean, we're very familiar with waiting lists, so we know how they work, and it gives people like these tenants some sort of security that they're going to continue there unless the rules are violated. It's sort of like our other waiting lists. You know, you know, it's public property, but as long as you behave and treat it well, you get to go back, so you can do business plans into the future and have that opportunity. So something to think about.
So are you talking about like the area right behind where it is, or that hollowed out area over by the solar field?
I was actually talking about both, because that hollowed out area was an option that Bob and I talked about at great length, and there's some area there. So seems to me that there is some room. How many square feet are each one of them? Were these 5,000 square feet each?
There's I think two different dimensions. I think two are one size, and there's one odd dimension on the end.
Okay, all right. Well, in any event, and these are adequate. So, you know, that gives you a footprint for the future. If we can, and we have additional property up there, I think we ought to be utilizing, because this is really a critical issue, not only Chatham, but everywhere on the Cape.
Yeah, so I mean, when we came up with the original licenses, one person wanted a little less, one person wanted a little more, so we could just move the blocks. So it's
Oh,
not the exact same
I got
square
you.
footage for each one. And then as far as expansion, that hollow is certainly worth looking at. We did talk to DPW director and some of the wastewater treatment facility folks. There are a couple of, you know, not to be touched areas just in case of expansion in the future, but
Right.
there might be some other areas.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think that's it's not a big effort, and I think we have a lot of the information from the previous look-see for some years ago.
Corey, did you have something else?
Just to follow up on Jason's comment, yeah, the current individuals who are using the facility have been with this project since step one. I mean, they were being displaced from the original fisherman storage area. They rode it through the treatment plant. They waited out town meeting, the construction of the FSA. You know, they've been good tenants, so I have no appetite to disrupt them. I mean, it wouldn't be fair. I mean, they've been there since step one, and as long as they're in good standing, I'm fine.
So I agree. I'm inclined to support the renewal of the leases for 3 years, and that gives us an opportunity to think about what might happen after the 3 years. It gives everybody a chance to plan. But I wanted to ask town council, so we have 3-year licenses in place now. I can't recall whether you were the one that drafted them or whether Mr. Costello did. But are we, can we just renew them with these 3 individuals?
I think so. I mean, I'm not personally familiar with them, and I don't think we drafted them. If we did, it would have been at the start of our newest tenure.
Yeah.
I hesitate to call it like a renewal per se, but yes, it has the effect of that, and they remain kind of revocable and terminable. So as long as we stick to the rules in and around licenses,
Yeah.
then I think there's no issue with
I think we-
issuing another one.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
think-
run into the same durational aspects that we would with respect to a lease. Obviously, if it's a term of years, that's for convenience purposes because they are revocable instruments, but still, it's helpful certainly for the
Yeah.
three users of the license, the three licensees.
Yeah, I just want to be able, the town to be able to extend it for 3 years with these particular licensees and not have to invite others to.
And we could help with memorializing that in whatever writing we have to, once we had the underlying info. It
Okay.
shouldn't be that particularly difficult.
I want to ask if any of the three licensees wanted to say anything. You're welcome to come up to the podium. I think there's a sentiment we can take a vote too if we need to. Sentiment that we'd like to renew your licenses. I know we have one public comment, which I'll get to in a moment, but would any of you like to say anything?
And I had one other question.
Okay. Okay, so they're appreciative of this. Stuart?
So 3 years, I wasn't on the board at the time, obviously, so I don't know if that's a limit, but having to do business plans, every business does them, and this business is particularly, yeah, it's got a lot of variables to it. Are we able to make it longer? I'm thinking back to, I think we do leases sometimes for 5 years and, 3 years.
Well, leases are a little bit different because
Understood.
we do have like actual limits on things that we have to consider. Here, sometimes what we do with licenses, we don't put in any term because the term is defined by the town's, comfort level with those. So that's why I said a few moments ago, we're putting a term on it so that they have some peace of mind as to what it's going to be when the next time that we consider this issue. But ultimately, the term, I don't want to,
Yeah,
it can be somewhat fungible. So sometimes when we do licenses for things, they're more or less open-ended. Here, I think the term makes a certain amount of sense because it allows us to evaluate things like, is it working? Do we have to reevaluate whether or not we have to put them out for other folks? Do we need to expand? So I think it's more convenience purposes. Technically, it could be more open-ended.
I was thinking, and I'll leave, I'm not sure it should be open-ended because we want to give them some degree of security, if you will. But could we go to 5 years, or is there a limit, a statute that says we?
No, there really isn't. What I might recommend, Stuart, is that instead of doing that, is that in the renewal thing will be considered, we'll add something, and, will be considered for renewal upon the end of the 3 years. Favorable, we could even add kind of a favorable disposition or something
Okay.
like that. But our plans for our properties change, so it's just a matter of both sides keeping it open. When we do want to stay away from an instance where these become kind of exclusive
Right.
use things, and someone might make an allegation, someone else who may want the space saying, well, that looks an awful lot like a lease to me.
Yeah,
So this way, it retains enough of that municipal control so that we can stay away from that kind of label on this.
yeah, I think some of that terminology would be helpful that you're chatting about.
Yeah, and we can bake that into this renewal
Great.
once we get the backup info, and that gives peace of mind that we're looking at this, maybe another renewal.
Right, thank you.
Stephen Buckley, you have your hand up. Did you have a comment on this item?
No, sorry, Mr. Chair, my mistake.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other public comments. I'll bring it back to the board. Does the board want to see, I think I would entertain a motion to authorize and direct the relicensing of these to these three licensees for a period of 3 years, subject to the review of the town council. Do you want to see that document come back to us before we?
No, I'm comfortable, I think Jay's getting the gist of what we're
Okay.
chatting about.
As long as it has a favorable renewal process.
Right.
That makes it
Okay.
easier than, you know.
We could certainly do that. Again, we have to, with licenses, we always have to keep our options open.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that we can certainly give a kind of a good feeling that this is going to be maintained and on into the future unless there's an important change of circumstances.
Great.
Does someone want to offer a
So
motion?
moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
So the motion, do we have the motion, Kathy? The motion is to extend this for 3 years with the current licensees, subject to the town council's review and revision of the lease accordingly. Is there a second?
I seconded.
Okay, so moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dyken?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next is a discussion of Harwich Select Board letters dated January 12th, 26, and April 14th, 26. So I just want to start by saying that in January, the Select Board received a communication from the town of Harwich Select Board relative to the Monomoy Regional School District assessment formula, and they had done some studies in Harwich and asked us to take a look at this in anticipation of what at the time was thought to be an upcoming joint meeting. We all received it. I looked at them at the time. I think I made some public comment about them at a budget session, and we did not follow up. And I think the reason is that we were not aware, I certainly was not aware of any particular meeting being scheduled. I assumed when this came in that this was going to be a meeting convened by the district itself, by the school committee, but that obviously did not happen. So more recently, on the 14th of April, there was a follow-up letter from the town of Harwich, from the Select Board, reiterating their desire for a joint meeting to discuss the assessment formula and the materials that they had presented. And I responded with an email to the chair, Don Howell, of the Harwich Select Board, that we would place this on our agenda tonight for discussion. And I know that our town manager and the new town administrator in Harwich have had conversations about scheduling a meeting and the venue for a meeting. I have spoken with Don Howell as recently as this morning, as well as last week, and I told him what we were doing tonight, and I would just like to say I have a good relationship chair to chair with Chair Howell. Neither of us is likely to be in the chair. I certainly am not going to be in the chair after May 14th. But I view this as a cooperative and collaborative process. I think he does too. I know he does too. We are jointly invested in this enterprise in stewarding the Monomoy Regional School District in the best interest of not just the taxpayers, but especially the students and pupils of the district. And I think when one party wants to talk about things, we should accommodate that. So I'm going to throw it open for conversation first on the documents themselves, to the extent you want to talk about them tonight. It may require further examination by us before we actually meet. And secondly, I'd like to be able to propose back to the Harwich Board some dates when we might want to meet and the venue. They have offered to have the meeting at the Harwich Community Center because it can accommodate a larger group, and that's fine, but there's a limitation technology-wise because they cannot telecast the meeting from there. It can be live streamed, but they can't entertain public comment because it's not a hybrid process. I suggested to Mr. Howell that we could possibly do it here in this room because we can entertain public comment, and we may want to propose that back to them. I wanted to give him a heads up that that was something that might come up tonight. So let's take that piece secondly, and I would suggest we talk first about the document to the extent you'd like to. I want to just make 3 high-level comments relative to the documents, which I did review for a second time. First, there are 3 points I want to make. First, some portion of the analysis that was done, and they had a subcommittee consisting of a select board member and member of their finance committee prepare this material. But a significant piece of the analysis focuses on Chatham's free cash situation in 2024. And I'm not sure they are aware that that was an anomaly. That was the year when we had $11 million, and that was because the state didn't allow us to credit as much as $6 million of that year in the prior year. So the prior year was significantly lower. I think it was in the 2 or 3 million range. So that's just, it had to do with the timing of receipts. And I'm not sure they are aware of that, but that's just one thing I saw. I'm not trying to pick their document apart. I think it merits consideration. Secondly, there is an underlying sense that I get from their materials that they want to take a look at the comparative wealth and property values of the 2 towns, with Chatham's always obviously being higher. But I think it's important to note that many of the high-value homes in the town of Chatham are owned by seasonal residents who don't use the school system. And that's something that should be taken into account. And then what I see, thirdly, what I see as I'll call it an obstacle. That's probably too strong a word, but it's something I think has to be factored into the analysis. If we want to talk about the fairness of a formula, I think you have to, as a threshold point, compare the formula proportions of what Harwich pays and what Chatham pays to the enrollments. So we have a formula which currently just roughly Harwich pays 76% and we pay 24%. Well, the enrollments are approximately the same. And you can argue that that's fair. That's certainly the initial impression that I would put forward. But they I think the formula needs to be adjusted because there are other factors which they have in their materials, such as the comparative wealth of the 2 towns should be entered into the analysis. I don't know. I had an informal conversation very briefly touching on that particular point with one of the other select board members in Harwich a while back. So that's the point. Those are my takeaways initially, just looking at it from a higher level, and I'll open it up to further discussion. But as I say, I think that we should approach this in a positive manner, listen to their concerns, talk with them, and see where this leads. I think we have an obligation to our taxpayers as well as to our students. And I wasn't involved when this merger took place. Jeff, you were, and you're probably the person most sophisticated in the knowledge of this. So with that, I'm going to throw it open.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Dean. In terms of the letters, I really do think we ought to meet with them, with the town of Harwich, the select board. They did go out of their way in January to put together a package, fairly robust package, kind of outlining their their concerns about the school budget and especially the assessment, the way the assessment is calculated. It's a calculation that I'm extremely comfortable with, and I think it's grounded in fairness, and we used a wonderful consultant working with the town of Harwich when we came up with it. And it's based on some logic, which is three-year rolling average, so for both the operating costs and the capital costs. So it's a fairly fair, how we go about our assessment. I watched the building committee discussion at the town of Harwich Select Board meeting the other night, last week, and it was a robust discussion about whether or not they're going to go with the metal roof versus asphalt and blah, blah, blah. But during the course of that discussion, one select board member in Harwich in particular took great umbrage with the way the school budget's done, and they're paying way too much, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been a complaint or a grousing, if you will, or rumblings from the town of Harwich Select Board for a number of years, going back 2 or 3 years. Every single year, it seems as though, sort of even late in the game, during the Monterey Regional School budget discussions, they need $400,000 or $500,000. Seems like last year was 400, the year before was 400, this year it's 500. So every year they're really seeking some relief on the school budget. Well, one of the reasons, or the primary reason that I can ascertain, because we did at one longer meeting, ask them to please articulate the why they need this relief. And the why right now is that they're up against their levy limit. They have no room in their levy limit. And they're also not looking to go to an override. So they are saying they're not going to go to an override to support the schools, and they're up against their levy limit, so they're looking around to save money. And the kind of first place I see them looking are the schools. Well, okay, I mean, that's an expression of their priorities as a town, so, let's have a discussion. More than willing to sit down and discuss their concerns. I'm sorry they're at their levy limit. We are not, and haven't been at our levy limit for as long as I've been on the select board. So the one caveat I would like to request this evening is I would like to sit down with Carrie and Jill and maybe Scott or even Michael, their controller over there, and go through the package that Harwich did submit to us back in January, because I see some real issues with it. So I need to go, and I think we need to be informed as to what assumptions they're bringing to bear and what facts they have included in this analysis that they presented. And they did a lot of work.
Yes.
They did a lot of work, to their credit. But I do think we need to go through with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm more than willing to I want to participate in that, so I'm volunteering to do that. But I think Carrie needs to be there, and we have some research to do as well. There's some work to do here. So that's what I'd like to do. But I think mid to late June, I've got some stuff happening early in June, but mid to late June I think is perfect. Certainly not before town meeting. One of the reasons I didn't pay real close attention to the letter in January was that I knew that we would never have the time to do anything that would affect our town meeting in May. The runway just wasn't there. The timing runway wasn't just there. So that's why I guess in retrospect, we should have at least acknowledged their hard work and the fact that they sent us a letter and, should have responded. But that being said, I knew we didn't have time to prepare a response or a cogent response and that was going to affect our town meeting, so I didn't think it was warranted. But I do think that given the dissatisfaction that's expressed in Harwich, and there's some deep dissatisfaction being expressed by the select board, that we do need to sit down with them and figure out what the heck's going on and if there's a way forward or not. So that's what I'd like to do. So that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you. I did express to Chair Howell this morning that some of our colleagues on this board might want some time to
Absolutely.
go down into detail with this and review it with staff and the school district personnel. So, and we both have town meetings coming up and town elections coming up.
Right.
We're going to have a new select board person.
Yep.
And I think that's fine. I don't think there'll be an issue on the other side on it. But any other comments from the board on the document itself at this point?
Yeah, I just, I understand, as Jeff had said, the need for discussion with the select board. Your action plan, Jeff, sounds really spot on to to deep dive into whatever's there. I mean, when we were presented with the budget from Dr. Carpenter and his assessment of, or his presentation of how the assessment was relevant in a bigger picture, really was spot on, I thought. And it just felt like, well, that's a very convincing argument. However, it appears that Harwich doesn't feel that way. So the best that can happen is a start of a conversation. It's probably, will take some time and energy, obviously, and appreciate, Jeff, that you want to jump into this. I won't be here, but I fully endorse an action like that as I sit here today.
Corey?
We absolutely have a duty to have a conversation with them. We're professional colleagues. We have the dialogue. More than happy to do that. Our priority is to the students, and Monomoy has been extremely successful. If you look at the students who have been able to transition from high school into the workforce, into the military, into different colleges, we are extremely successful. You look back over the last couple of years, how many of our graduates have gone off to Harvard? I mean, the percentage of enrollment of acceptance is crazy, and we've put three of them over the last couple of years. That's pretty impressive. So we have a successful school program. I think the formula has worked. I think it has a lot of merit. There's been obviously some difference of opinion on that, but we can have a dialogue. I'm happy to sit down, happy to meet. I do think Jeff has the best knowledge, the best experience with a lot of this, so I'm going to lean on him a little bit more on this, but I think we're all engaged in the conversation. So we'll sit down, have a conversation with him, be professional, and do what's best for the school and our taxpayers, too.
Stuart, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
I don't think so. I'm learning more so on this subject than some of the others. I think Jeff looking into it would be helpful. I did have a kind of a question, and if it's not the right time, you can speak up. But the wealth factors, it's always kind of, did that come up when we originally negotiated this, or when the town?
It did not. It
Yeah.
did not, yeah.
I mean, it's a little disappointing to see that, because there's so much that goes into that. There's two different communities, they have different stresses, and, the number of, I can see they're near their levy limit. I don't know why I don't know the details into that. But, the next blurb about the residents over the age of 65 have incomes less than 50. I mean, we could give those statistics.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's.
One thing about the wealth factor is, and this has been confirmed several times by Scott Carpenter, because we've asked him, the formula starts off with the foundation enrollment, which is how many kids do you have in town that go to school, whether it's to Monomoy or any other school. And the state formula for that includes a wealth component.
It does already. It does, and that's really the only
Yeah.
place in the formula where it's present.
Yeah. But anyway,
Harwich would like to bake in some kind of wealth
some additional.
factor into a new formula.
But, and the one other thing, historically, before you came on board, Stuart, last year, toward the end of that fiscal year, Jeff and our then chair, Mike Schell, went to Harwich at their request and met with two representatives, their chair and one of their other members, to I guess, begin this discussion that they wanted to have. And they have also sent a request to the school committee to open the agreement for, I'm sorry, Jill, open the agreement for consideration. It has to be reviewed every 5 years.
Yeah, the deal is every 5 years, And the language is that the school committee actually reviews it every 5 years. Now, obviously, they can't really kind of do a review without including towns and select boards, et cetera, but it really should be generated from the school committee. The last one was they reviewed it in 17. The deal was struck in 12. They reviewed it in 17. We did another review in 22, and we included the elementary schools and changed some language. So, we're up in 27, if you will, for the 5-year
So that's
review.
coming
So it's not untoward that, we should be looking at this every 5 years, but it's just a question of where it lands.
Okay.
Yep.
So those are preliminary thoughts, and then let me just ask next, when would we like this? Are there any dates we want to propose, and where would we like to have the meeting?
I'm open to the dates, but I really think that this has a lot of public interest
Yes.
on both communities, and it should. And I think the more we can have a public discussion and the public input and dialogue would be beneficial. So I would advocate that it would be here. I don't know how many people show up to their meetings.
This is the better room for it because we can have what we have on the screen now. People can call in or, as well as come in person, log on, whatever. It can't happen at the community center. They don't have the capacity to do that.
And that's a real disadvantage, I
Yeah,
think.
so are we talking mid-June? Is that enough time, do you think?
I'd go late June.
Late June.
Yeah, I would go late June, yep. I should put my microphone on.
Okay,
Late June, yep.
all right.
We have some work to do.
I'm going to open it, so I think the sentiment of the board right now is, obviously, we'll meet, we'll propose meeting here in late June, and we'll let Jill work out some dates with Mr. McGrail, their new administrator. And I'm going to open it up for public comment right now. Is there any in the room here? I don't see any. I see Elaine Gibbs. Elaine?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree with you that if you are going to have a meeting, that it should be in Chatham. They are asking us for money, and I think we have more at stake in being able to comment. I don't think there are many things in life you can count on, but what you can count on is every time Harwich runs into financial trouble, they look to Chatham. And this has been going on for years, and they do it in kind of, as far as I'm concerned, an insulting way, that, we've got more money. And I think the fact that they even addressed the fact that they found out that we had free cash and they wanted it is mind-boggling to me. Just a couple things that Mr. Dykens had made a lot of good points the last round of this, that we had bailed them out because they were going to lose accreditation for their high school, and so we participated. They now have a $300 million campus in Harwich. It never even came up that we could put it in Chatham, and that's a huge asset for them. We donated the middle school to the district for $1. And then what they did with their middle school is they converted it into their Creative Arts Center. It's a 70,000 square foot building on 13 acres with a gym and an auditorium and artist studios. That's another huge asset that the town has, the town of Harwich has, thanks to Chatham. We have diverted our sewering to them when they didn't want to build their wastewater treatment facility in East Harwich, and consequently, we have not met our goals. Our goals at the time were 2/3 of the town by 2030. That would be 5,300 homes sewered. Right now, we got about 1,500 sewered. Because they diverted it to East Harwich, and most of East Harwich is now selling homes all sewered. Every time, again, we have a problem, or they have a problem, they come to us. We have to stop funding Harwich's poor financial planning. We have saved them hundreds of millions of dollars, and they use our community center. As a matter of fact, they have a creative arts center with a gymnasium, et cetera, but they participate in many, many programs at our community center. So I think we've done our part. And I think, mismanagement of their finances and the fact that they've exceeded their tax levy or whatever, their funding levy, is not our problem. They need to cut some other places within their budget and not look to Chatham to bail them out every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Meredith Fry.
Meredith Fry, 18 Cross Tree Hollow. I just want you to consider, and I agree with Corey, that we are a regional school. So it's not us and them. We're not divided here. We have to work together. And the school is getting stronger and stronger. My son went through the whole program, Monomoy Regional High School, played with Corey's kids on the soccer team. They made it to the state finals. My girls went through middle school, half a high school. It's not us versus them, and we have to work together for the children and be proud of these kids. And we can't position Chatham kids and Harwich kids. We're a regional school, and we have to act like a regional district. So I just, we have to consider that. And yes, I think the divide right now is fair, but we have to work together with Harwich and not against them.
Thank you, Meredith. Any other comment? I just wanted to remind everyone that I think the last time we had Scott Carpenter present, he had a set of slides which showed the success of this district since it started in terms of the popularity of the district among students and parents. The numbers show it. We're doing better than the other districts. So we all need to work together to make sure that that continues, and we need to protect the interests of the students and the taxpayers of Chatham. So, okay, so I think we're resolved on, we have the consensus on the dates, and we'll get back to them. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to consider the policy on public meeting recording and participation policy for appointed boards, commissions, and committees. This has been rescheduled from a couple weeks ago. There is a draft document that we had asked our staff to prepare, and it's in the packet, and there is a subsidiary item that was requested by our Chatham citizen, Carol Bliss, to request that the Airport Commission, request for the Airport Commission to live broadcast meetings. This is a citizen agenda request, is sort of a sub item of the main item. So I guess the first question, Jill, are we being asked to approve this public meeting recording policy?
Mr. Chair, I want to turn this over to Kathy Lewis. She assisted in preparing it.
Yeah.
So what you have before you, as you said, Mr. Chair, is a draft public meeting recording and participation policy for appointed boards, commissions, and committees. We had drafted this, I believe, last year, but it came from one of the working sessions when we were doing our annual committee board commission review, because there was discussion as to having an overarching policy. At that time, we kind of tabled it because we had something in place that basically said, committees will meet, and it was working. It was the COVID policy, I believe, that was put in place. What's before you tonight would kind of really establish a policy, a permanent policy, not, building off of that COVID policy to standardize recordings and participation policies for all, because at the moment, different committees are doing different things. Regulatory committees are broadcast live. We've been doing that consistently, but the advisory committees and some of the statutory committees are different in how they're handling things. So this is before you to consider so that it becomes more standardized across the board for all committees, boards, and commissions.
So back in April, we considered live broadcast versus meeting with the log-on broadcast, or log-on mode of meetings, because there was one particular regulatory board, the Board of Health, that was interested not in meeting in this room. They wanted to meet in the next room, and this consensus of the board, this was before you got on, Stuart, was that we wanted all regulatory boards to meet in this room because they'd be televised, and that's what the Board of Health continues to do. And so we didn't adopt any policy that night, but this is the policy. And this sort of evolved from what we had in COVID. At one point, all the boards were shut down except for the regulatory boards, which had to meet.
Correct. Hybrid meetings were pretty much the norm for a while.
That became
It became, the norm for, I believe, the regulatory boards and some of the advisory boards. Some advisory committees don't do hybrid, they do in-person only. So again, this would be looking to standardize that for all.
So does the board want to talk about this policy first? Do you want to roll in the consideration of Ms. Bliss's request? How do you want to deal with this tonight? Because I know there were people that probably want to speak on the second item. Stuart?
Okay. I think maybe we want, well, so at the time, this is back, there's no date on this page, but back in March, I guess, that the board considered this. They considered.
It was in April.
I'm sorry, April. And the following boards and commissions are considered regulatory. I'm on page 1 of the.
Yeah.
Proposal. The following boards and commissions are considered regulatory. I guess that means for this policy, because that certainly is not all the regulatory groups that we have, right?
Well, I think this is the committee handbook, which I know you're familiar with, where all the committees in existence at that time, and there are a couple which are no longer around, and we have some new ones that are not here, are listed, and they're categorized according to whether they're statutory or regulatory or advisory, and some are both. Statutory simply means there's a state's law that says you have to have a conservation commission. But we know that the Conservation Commission is regulatory because regulatory bodies are committees or commissions that make rules that grant permits or regulate activities by property owners essentially in town. So that is probably the correct listing of what is, quote, a regulatory commission. You've got the HBDC, which can control the appearance of your facade in the historic business district. You've got the Historical Commission, which can control what you might do to remodel or expand your house or demolish it if it's a certain age. You've got the zoning board, which can control development on your property. We've got the planning board, which can pretty much do things along those lines as well. And what did I leave out?
Board of Health and Conservation.
The Board of Health has considerable regulatory authority on on how people and property owners can conduct themselves with a view to promoting the public health and environment, and the Conservation Commission similarly. But you have other bodies that are, quote, statutory, like the Council on Aging, the Cemetery Commission, and the Airport Commission, and
Assessors.
Park and Rec Commission.
Parks and Rec.
I don't think we would necessarily regard those as regulatory, although in some instances, they have some powers, like Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And I guess they can't set fees, that has to come to us. But
And they fall under a statute.
yeah,
They're
they do.
created by
So
a
that's the terminology.
I mean, I guess this sentence wouldn't have been as, if the following boards and commissions are considered regulatory in the arena or the area of land use, okay, I get that. That's not what it says, but that's what we're saying.
It's not all land use, because the Board of Health is not land use only.
Well, they regulate land use issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they also regulate other things.
Right. So the real point I was trying to make was, these aren't all the regulatory commissions. We have other statutory, Airport Commission, Cemetery Commission, the assessors, the Parks and Rec Commission, who are formed under statute and in I think all of those cases, I'm not sure about the assessors, but certainly the other three have regulatory. They write their own regulations. They adopt their.
Well, they have regulations, yeah, and I suppose if you can look at it from that prism and say, if you write a regulation, you're a regulatory commission, but I guess, to me, just looking at it from, I guess I'll call it a legal perspective, a regulatory commission is a body that can direct or control what you do personally or what you do on your property, as opposed to the Park and Rec controls and regulates what goes on town-owned beaches and parks, and the airport, the same thing with the airport. I don't know if the Airport Commission even has regulations, but.
So in this proposed draft, though, where I was headed is, these regulatory, let's call them regulatory commissions, are formed under statute. They create regulations in the area of regulating land use, as opposed to these are
I just think that's probably too limiting, to limit them to land use, limit the definition to land, of a regulatory body to a land use, because.
I'm not being clear. I don't care what the definition is.
Yeah.
My point is that, I'll make it easier. These ones that are outlined in this draft policy are not all of our statutory regulatory, as this says.
That's true, and
Okay.
this list here,
Right.
we've got, for example, this was done, and I have to tell you, when three of us, I don't think, Shereen, you were on the board, fortunately. To your good fortune, you weren't on the board when this was being done.
And you're escaping.
Mr. Roper came up with the final draft. So we didn't really pay attention to these categories, but the Affordable Housing Trust is listed as a statutory, but then it has an R behind it because statutory committees appended with an R are considered as regulatory committees in Chatham. So beside the Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees, it says statutory with a parenthesis with an R. The Airport Commission, right underneath it, just says statutory. Conservation Commission is listed as statutory with an R.
So, yeah, I don't mean to
No, I'm just.
dismiss that document.
No, I'm just
but-
saying this
Yeah.
is where this is
Yeah.
all coming from.
Okay, well, I know what statutory is. I know what regulations are. I think most of the public would know. And this does not include all of them. So that was really my only point. How we want to define it further is fine. But I do believe, similar to the school discussion, where hopefully we're going to have it here, and hopefully we're going to have a good discussion and an open one where it's transparent and people can engage with the public. I think that particularly the Airport Commission would benefit from being part of this list. It has had a difficult history. It's a major resource. I think it's a positive resource. I've said that repeatedly, but it does, and I've also said that it needs work. And my short tenure as liaison for a year now, next month, is that there's concerns about the airport that I think it could be better vetted. And I think if they were vetted, we wouldn't have half of the back and forth that we have now. I just think, what they say, sunshine is the best disinfectant. Open the door and let the sunshine in. And I think that this would be helpful. I think the Airport Commission goes a long way towards, getting the information out there. But I think having it live broadcast would be very beneficial, in my opinion. I think that, I think there's also a letter here saying that, the IT staff or the television staff doesn't have actually it says it right here. Moving into the large meeting room, that would be fine with us. It seems to be good on the master calendar. They usually finish before 8 p.m. and would not impact the OT-CE if they kept to that. I've never been at an airport meeting, at least, well, I've been on it, goes to 8. Their chairman is very disciplined and functional in moving the meeting along, and it's usually done within an hour and a half or so. So I think there's a benefit, and I would suggest that the Airport Commission be added to this list. And the other question I had is there any discussions or about having any other room other than this one? I think it's just this one that is able to be televised. I'm sure, I look at the windows there, and there's certainly some money involved here. But we used to have the basement of the town hall able to do that, and I'm sure there's staffing issues, but I just didn't know, was there any look-see into that before I was here?
Well, I do know that the staff currently works till 8 o'clock on the average day, right? That's why he mentioned that. Jill, do you want to comment on Stuart's?
Yeah, so
Irene.
the staff works from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. I need to, I guess, check with Mark. The community center has been upgraded. I just don't know if it's absolutely upgraded for a live meeting. I don't know, Mark Membork, if you want to come out here, please. The town hall studio, lower level, that was dismantled. So a lot of the stuff was moved here, including the new stuff. And Mark can speak to the capabilities at the community center. It all revolves around a master calendar, as we noted.
Right.
And so there's only so many meetings with some break time, maybe a half an hour between live meetings that the team needs to be able to either back up or push to wherever they need to. Mark?
What's the first question?
Well, I could ask the first question if you want.
Go ahead.
Now that Jill led into the community center, is there a room there that's capable of what you do here?
The community center has installed video cameras and an audio system. We can stream to YouTube and we can record, but we can't live broadcast on Xfinity.
That's only done here.
Only down here.
And I'm not going to ask you, but I'm looking at the equipment. It's probably not a minor expense to have a duplicate of this room.
Yeah, not a minor expense. It more involves fiber optic connection.
Yeah.
And the fiber is currently here, goes to the elementary school, and then to Comcast.
I got you.
What was done in the past at the community center, I don't know if there's things pre-installed that never got utilized. That would be something for maybe Mr. Whalen to think about.
Yeah. As you pointed out, this room is available for the Airport Commission. They don't have to move their time or their date. I might think of it differently if we had to move the time and date, but I think it's an opportunity we should take advantage of.
Mark, thank you, Stuart. And obviously, you've answered my initial question as to whether we wanted to talk about sub-item A, which we are. And we'll look to others in the public in a moment. But, Mark, so just to clarify for the benefit of the public who are following this meeting, meetings that are held like in the small room next door or at rooms in the community center or even at the town offices, if they are hybrid meetings, the public can log on in real time or call in real time and participate.
Yeah, as long as all the information has been disseminated clearly, anybody should be able to dial in on the phone or use a link on their computer to join the meeting remotely. For the community center conference room on the first floor, for the town hall meeting room, for the annex small meeting room.
And that information is included in the meeting notices that are posted on the official town website.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments at the board level first? Okay, I'm going to open it up, but the first person who had his hand up is Stephen Buckley. Stephen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Oop. Go ahead. Bye.
Yeah. Stephen, could I ask you to hold for a moment, because I neglected, this item was requested by Carol Bliss. Ordinarily, I would ask, Carol, do you or your husband want to come and speak to it? And then we'll open it up. And we'll open it up for public comment, including from the chair of the Airport Commission, whenever he'd like to speak. Mr. Stahl.
Jerry Stahl, West Chatham, speaking on behalf of my wife, Carol Bliss, who requested this, and I'm just going to read her statement. Thank you for this opportunity to present my request, which is really quite simple. Please televise the Airport Commission meetings again as they were prior to COVID, but were never reinstituted after that. At that time, the Airport Commission was adopting its long-range plan, the AMPU. Now the Airport Commission Chair and Gale Consultants are working on a study to revise that AMPU to justify an annually increasing number of landings by Pilatus planes for which the Chatham Airport is not designed. This process is being carried out with little public transparency. We all know that the airport continues to be a source of controversy between the town and many residents. Trust has eroded over the years, and misinformation and rumors continue to circulate. Many more residents would watch the meetings if they were live broadcast and were easily accessible on TV. Transparency and communication continue to be the words we hear over and over. They would be greatly enhanced if residents were able to easily access live Airport Commission meetings. Bringing these important meetings back to live TV would be a positive gesture and signal that we are being listened to and heard in an attempt to bring trust back to local governance of the airport. Thank you, Carol Bliss.
Thank you, Jerry. Huntley, did you want to speak now, or did you want to wait for? Well, I'll wait. I'd like to see. Okay. I'm going to go to Stephen Buckley. He was the first one, and then we'll come to other public comment after that. Stephen, you're back on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know, I'm on twice, but, oh, I see. I got it. Anyway, thank you. I want to echo what was just said under the written remarks by Carol Bliss, and also point to the first page or the first sentence of the draft proposal that's before you. It says the purpose is for this policy establishes guidelines for the operation of public meetings held by the town's appointed boards, commissions, and committees to promote consistency, transparency, and to facilitate public participation. And if things are clear, meaning transparency, that's the same thing as clarity. If people have the same consistency across, so no matter what board or committee or event that they show up to share their thoughts and raise their concerns, if they're all run basically the same way, with the same rules, then it's going to be much better and easier for people who will want to participate and play the game. Imagine if you went, every ballpark you went to, they had 3 strikes and 3 outs. Oh, but over here it's 2 outs and 3 strikes. And this one's 4 strikes and 4 outs. It's kind of the same game. It looks like the same game. But these are all significant things and deterrents to understanding what the heck is going on. And how does a person participate in that? So as people know, I've been a big proponent of that for a while, and all the way back to when I was on the Long Range Committee. In 2003, we didn't even have a website, and as a member of that committee, I took the drafts and put them up for public comment on the library website so people could see what was going on with the long range plan. And then about 10 years ago or so, I even gave a demonstration to the town manager let me give a demo of remote participation to town staff, department heads. And if it wasn't for COVID, we probably I wouldn't be remotely participating now. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that I would suggest that if you want to pass something now, but any policy like this should be attached to the committee handbook. There should be a reference so that they're not separate, free-floating documents. There's a paragraph in the committee handbook that talks about remote participation, but it only talks about it as if committee members are the only ones who would be remotely participating. And I knew, no, people would be able to use this too. You wouldn't have to be that way. So of course, like I said, COVID came along and gave everybody a reality check about what was possible. And now I think because of that, more people are able to participate. I saw a shot just a second ago. I don't know how many people are there in person. It looked like maybe it was just a couple. And so I think there should be a task force, a group or something. So it's more than just a single communications manager who is not. I think there's a lot. The whole idea of public participation is that people outside of government might know something and be able to add value to a product. And so that's what I would suggest. If you want to pass something now, but an agenda item that talks about a group, call it a task group, call it an advisory group, call it whatever you want, to be able to update everything, update the committee manual, and also things like artificial intelligence, note-taking, things like that, and not just leave it up to staff to come up with something they think you'll like. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. I just would point out that we have several policies that affect committees, and policies have a legal standing to them. They govern. They're voted by this board. They are intended to govern actions by committees, for example. The committee handbook has no legal standing. It's really guidance. It was approved by the select board, so we really want to be careful not to look just to the committee handbook for directives on how things should be. But the committee handbook should, when it's updated, reflect what's in these policies. So I just really wanted to get that clarification. I think, Paula Lofgren, you were next. Thank you, Stephen.
Mr. Chair, after Ms. Lofgren, I have a clarifying question.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paula Lofgren, Horizon Drive. I'm here in support of this agenda item request that Carol has put forward. About a decade ago, the Select Board at that time made the decision to move the Airport Commission from the back room at the airport to this large reading room here in order to have airport operations be transparent and widely understood by the general public. It was very successful. Viewing the meeting on TV allowed people easy access to the proceedings, good sound, good visual quality, and multiple showings without having to have access to or expertise with a computer. Logging in is a possibility right now, but there are a lot of people in our residence that don't know how to log in, and once they do, can't understand the proceedings. Later, the AC was asked to move their meeting to the small room next door, and if I remember correctly, it was to accommodate a select board's scheduling difficulty. And so we agreed, but not permanently. The caveat at the time of that vote was that we would return to this room when the master plan came up for revision, so the public would be able to take part in the conversation and decision-making process about the future of the airport. So when we moved in there, like I said, it was because we were going to come back when the master plan came before the public, that we all deserved to hear the conversations about that master plan. But then COVID happened. The AC remains in the small room where recordings are difficult to understand, particularly those of us with vision and hearing challenges. Along with regular operations, two major airport projects are coming up, the vegetation tree removal project and the DG2 safety study. And as you probably predict and have said, there will be much interest and many questions for the commissioners and engineers as these initiatives play out. The AC should take advantage of this opportunity to be televised in order to educate the public about what they want to be voted on at town meeting. The best way for them to get the word out is to be in this room and on that TV. Residents deserve to be able to listen to the monthly progress reports and participate in these discussions in a venue that is accessible. I urge you to approve the return of the AC to the big room with the comfy chairs. I have looked at the meeting calendar online, and it appears that there is no other meeting in this room at the same time as when the AC is meeting next door. Simple switch, just a different door. The Select Board and the Airport Commission both agree there needs to be more cooperation between the airport and the town residents. Voting in favor of this agenda item is a very easy first step towards rebuilding that public trust. I might add that I was surprised to hear the difference between statutory and regulatory and how that affects the definition of the Airport Commission. They do follow the FAA regulations, but they may make widely effective decisions about what's going to happen, and especially about grant assurances. So they're sitting there making the decision for the public to enter into contracts that affect the lives of the people in this town. It's my belief that the residents should know this is happening, and this would be the easiest way to do it, to return the AC here. Thank you.
I'll take issue with your description of these chairs as being comfortable.
Oh, they were so much better than the back room at the airport.
They should be junked. Secondly, until I came to Chatham, I never heard the term statutory commission. That's not your doing. I'm just saying, I never heard that. I look upon regulatory commissions as bodies that affect me personally in my conduct of my life or in my handling of my personal property. But then the last thing I would say, I've been on this board 11 years. In the early years before we experienced COVID and adopted the hybrid mode, we used to get a big crowd of people in this room, even though we were televised. And once we started with the hybrid meetings, you can see the only people here tonight are a handful, and that's typically what we have unless there are items on the agenda where they are participants in those items. So I don't know what that means, whether it means more people are taking advantage of the hybrid mode or not. I'm just trying to lay out the facts here, but that's all. I don't mean to debate with you, except on the chairs. Except when the chair, I'll debate the comfort of these chairs with you, but that's about all.
Not looking for debate, Dean, but I do agree with you that, and I've taken advantage of hybrid, but I've also taken advantage of watching you on the television. And you're right, the thing that's different for my participation is that when you have someone who's coming up and interested in your agenda item, you get to hear what the pulse is of the people who are affected. And that doesn't really happen in the other room because the technology isn't good. And so you're right, it surprises me not to see so many people here and to stay late unless they're really passionate about the subject.
Yeah.
But I do worry, Dean, about the older population, of which I am too, who do not have facility to enjoy logging in with hybrid. And it's really difficult, and so that disenfranchises those people who don't have that facility.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I don't even like this circular setup with the panel here. I think this is why the Board of Health wants to meet in there, because they like meeting around the table. And we've gone to other towns, the town of Orleans and the town of Harwich. Their select board meets around a table so they can have a conversation. Anyway, thank you, Paula.
Thanks, Dean. Thank you, committee.
Harriet Proud and then Elaine Gibbs.
Harriet Proud, Shattuck Place. You were listing off committees or commissions that dealt with land. Is that correct?
Some of them do.
Yes, and most of them are in this room, those committees, because I've watched them on TV.
Yeah.
And this is a big piece of land, our land, everybody's land in Chatham. We should be knowing what's going on with that land, what's going to happen to that land, as we know who's going to be putting up a swimming pool or who has to do their conservation, or if it's my neighbor, we find out about our neighbors.
I'm sorry, I had forgotten to call on Shireen, but please continue, Harriet.
Okay. So this is our land, Chatham's land, and we should know what's going on. I used to come to the meetings here, but it is really easy to just turn on the TV and watch what's going on and maybe correspond with someone afterwards if, I could add something to it. But many people watch it on TV. And we can watch it not just live, but we can watch it the day after, sometimes 2 or 3 days after. And that is what should happen with the airport. So people will see it, so understand it. People don't understand what's going on with the airport, and they don't seem to. I can get on the computer, I can pull up any meeting that I want, but many people don't understand how to do that. Many people don't even have computers that are my age anymore because they have their phone, and that's all they need, and they don't want the maintenance of a computer. So I think it would benefit everyone in this town to know what's happening to our land. Our water is under the airport. The trees were going down. We heard a lot about the trees, and many people didn't understand about that because it wasn't televised and it wasn't repeated on the television. And so I would really appreciate that you follow what Carol has asked for and pass this.
Thank you, Harriet. Shireen, I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. I'll defer to Ms. Gibbs.
Okay, Elaine? You're on.
Thank you. I'll keep it short. When you do revisit the public participation policy, I think you have to reinforce with people, I think what you're saying is you want them to, all the committees to follow the procedure you have. And that's allowing public comment either at the beginning or during the agenda item before, a vote is taken. I was on the airport commission a couple weeks ago, and the chairman wouldn't let me speak during, after they talked about an issue. And he said, oh, no, we're following the select board. I tried to tell him that that's not how you do it. So I think it's important to have all the committees allow public participation either at the beginning or during the agenda item, as you do. It's been very helpful. I think things run more smoothly. A lot of questions don't have to be asked. And I would also say they should be in a large meeting room. Other people have referred to it. The room that you used as an example for the Council on Aging committee meeting on the progress and the funding and all that kind of stuff, and the workshop, the sound was terrible. And you can go back and look at the video. You couldn't hear it most of the time. And it's very frustrating when people are trying to listen and cannot hear because of the poor quality. So whatever can be done in the large room should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. The public participation policy that you're referring to is a different one from the one we're considering tonight. That one is actually in our packet every week, and that has been provided to all the committees. So they're supposed to follow that, but thank you for reminding us. Brian Phillips and then Carol Gordon.
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. I did participate in an airport commission meeting remotely, and it was challenging to say the least. There was like this tiny little box. I couldn't really see it, and it was tough to hear. And because I typically come to the meetings in person, so I can see and hear everything okay. So I guess if it's not going to cost more money, and you can put us on TV or the airport commission on TV, I think you should do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I should note that you're an airport commissioner. Carol Gordon.
Carol Gordon, South Chatham. So over the past 2 weeks, I've talked to a lot of people, and of course, the airport always comes up, and they have many questions about what's going to be happening, what's happening with the trees, what's happening with the study, what's going to be included in the study, is the community going to have any interest in it or have any say? So I believe in the interest of transparency, a really good first step would be to have the meetings televised. And they were televised before, and if COVID hadn't happened, they'd probably still be televised. So I think that it's kind of a simple thing to do, to take a really good first step for the people. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Shireen, do you want to ask a question now? Or
No, it's not a question, it's more like a statement, so I think.
Wait till Huntley speaks?
Yeah, I'd rather wait till Huntley
Okay.
speaks.
Any other people who are advocating in support of Carol's position, Carol Bliss's position? I don't see anybody. Huntley Harrison, Chair of the Airport Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for postponing until tonight since I couldn't make it last week. I appreciate that. I mean, just to start off, we're very happy next door as a commission. I think, as was stated earlier, people have telephones, they have computers, they can come to meetings personally. We're wide open. I really, to be frank, don't understand when I hear people say that we don't communicate. We're there every month. We're communicating. We have, our minutes are public. Once they get approved, they're out there. We don't, if we're lucky to have 1 or 2 people at our meetings, we're lucky. I think now and then we'll have some people online. Most of the time, it's our engineer, our consultant giving a report. I mean, if people were really interested in what we're doing, I would suspect they would be showing up and asking questions and making sure they hear the answers from us and not from third parties who really, the only word I can come up with, the words I can come up with are basically spurious suppositions as to what we do. With regard to statutory and regulatory, we are a statutory commission by virtue of the fact that the state, under Chapter 90, establishes airport commissions. So we are statutory. The only regulatory piece that we do is within the airport itself, and what we do with regard to FAA and MassDOT regulations and how we enforce those to make sure that the airport operates and is managed safely and efficiently, which is what the state and the feds expect. So I think that what we're dealing with here is something that will not be solved by putting us on television. In fact, going back to the time we were on television, as previous speaker said, it was very successful. I would, say no, it really wasn't. There was a time when we had a speaker who wouldn't leave the podium, and the chairman had to call the police to get her off the podium. So we had to postpone the meeting temporarily until that happened. Fortunately, the person left before the police arrived, but they did arrive to find out what was going on. And I think it would also provide an opportunity, certainly for people to tell us how they think, but they have that opportunity now. And if they're not taking advantage of it, I'm sorry. With regard to the tree removal process, that's been public and out there for years, literally years. Those trees were supposed to be coming down last Christmas in the winter period. But we've had to delay it for a variety of reasons. But that's been in the papers. It's been going back and forth in terms of what's going on with that for literally years. The other issue that was just brought up was about the study that we're doing. Well, we're doing the study for the public. We want to know just as much as they do about the airplanes that are coming in here and what kind of mitigation may or may not have to take place as a result of those larger airplanes landing. So we're addressing all these issues. It's public. It's out there. We've talked about it. And we're dealing, the trees are dealing with safety. The trees are not dealing with enabling larger aircraft to come in. It has nothing whatsoever to do with that. And the study is for safety. We want to find out exactly what the safety issues are with a larger plane.
Point of order. Point of order. I think we're getting off topic to the public.
Well, I'm going to allow it because we had a discussion, we had comment about trees.
Got it.
From the previous speaker, but we'll confine it.
Thank you.
I'll wrap it up. I just don't think it'll be very successful. It hasn't been in the past. I don't see the benefit of having us in here with 2 or 3 people in here. And in fact, where are we not being transparent? What exactly, I've never really heard it defined. What is it where we're not transparent? What is it that we are not communicating? Tell me. I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Huntley. Okay. Harriet, I'll give you a chance to make a comment, and then second time. Then I'm going to bring it back to the board.
I don't know when the airport meets, and most people don't know when the airport meets, but everyone watches the television. Everyone sees your meetings, whether they're watching it live or whether they're watching it the day after. Even when they're at midnight, they record them. They watch all the meetings that are on the television. And we do not see the airport meetings on the television. They would know more about what's going on if it was on the television. And this is our land. This is our land, not just the Airport Commission's land. This is our land, and I would like to see it done correctly. Thank you.
Stephen, I'll give you a 1-minute response, and then we're cutting off public comment and coming back to Ms. Davis, who's been wanting to make a comment for 10 minutes. Thank you. Stephen.
Yes, thank you very much. That's all I need is a minute. Thank you. It's interesting, the word transparency has been thrown around a lot for many, many years, and everybody thinks it's something that you do to people. The person who decides whether you're being clear to them is the recipient of your information. And if the previous speaker, who says he doesn't understand what's not being made clear, I would have to take him at his word that he doesn't understand. And the only way you can understand how you're not being clear is to ask and have a conversation with somebody. And that doesn't happen at airport meetings. People talk at each other, not with each other. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Shireen, sorry for the
That's okay,
delay.
Mr. Chair. First off, as far as the draft policy goes, I really agree that all the meetings should include a remote participation option. I think that's, it's in the draft, and we accepted that, but that was the change. But what I wanted to talk about was the airport issue. I listened to everybody and what they were saying about what their issues were, and I kept hearing the word transparency, and I don't think it's a transparency problem. It's an access problem. It's the ability to be able to access a certain way how you get to how you see the meeting. It's not, the airport's being transparent. The town of Chatham is being transparent. Meetings are posted. There are 4 or 5 different options to be able to watch, with a few options to be able to participate in the airport's meeting, similar to probably the Affordable Housing Trust meetings. Probably they're very similarly structured. So I think this is about what Ms. Lofgren said about the inability to be able to hear, the quality of the meetings in the smaller room. It's around a table. It's very difficult sometimes if people don't have their mics, which we're always reminded to have them close to us and to be able to hear. Saying all that, though, I think if that's the issue, which is a legitimate issue, and it's probably an issue for all meetings in that room, we should be looking at that and seeing how to amend, fix, or improve the conditions in the room, number one. But the airport has a complicated relationship with the community. And if there is an opportunity that they can come back to this room, it's not going to impede any extra costs or time constraints on anybody, then have them come back. But they might not be the only one that will be requested to come back to this room or to use this room. There's going to, if this continues to be or is the issue of having the inability to hear, the uncomfortableness of that, The only reason I can see that anybody would want these live and on television is that you can hear it more clear. You can see it more conveniently. Participation, if you're not on a computer, you're not participating by just watching the television. You might be seeing it, but you're not here in the room to participate. So I think that argument is a little suspect. But I feel that it's probably an access issue for a lot of the folks that came here tonight to say.
Just as an observation, and I'm not taking issue with anything you said. I think what you say is well taken, but where do you stop?
Well, that's my point.
We want the Affordable Housing Trust in here? Because what they did is they were dealing with serious controversial issues, 2 major projects. Are they going to come in this room? Are we going to have all these other boards wanting to come in here? That's
My point exactly, Mr.
okay.
Chair. And what I'm saying, what I'm saying is maybe there's an opportunity to improve how that room is managed, or it's no fault of Channel 18. But maybe it's the technology, maybe it's just the training on how to use the mics and be a little more, might be the biggest issue that room has, is that people aren't right here talking in their mics.
That's right. Thank you. Corey.
Very, very simple. This meeting room, that meeting room. Can you attend in public? This room, yes. That room, yes. Can you sign online and participate virtually through the link? This room, yes. That room, yes. Can you, if you have a live venue, what's the difference? You sit at home. You're watching. You're listening. You're learning. You're not necessarily linked on. You're not creating another lift for the committee to manage. You're just getting better access. It's another venue to understand. And Airport Commission, Affordable Housing Trust, I do think these committees, they're the bodies that are creating bigger buzz, bigger impact for the community. I think providing the best access to our citizens on committees that clearly have higher impact are beneficial. So if we can accommodate that in this room, I say we do it. And if we can expand our technology into other facilities, another room, another location, we should look at that. Because as much as I don't like seeing an empty room sometimes, we used to have a much fuller audience at times. That's why we have all these wonderful seats here. People are home. They're having their dinner. They're having their glass of wine. They're taking care of, some other business. They may be doing their laundry and watching us, but they're listening and learning and engaging and understanding firsthand what is being discussed versus secondhand down later. So as much as we can accommodate in the live meeting rooms, I'm supportive of that. So.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Jeff?
I just listened very carefully to what Mr. Meadows said. In terms of, you can attend the meeting in the little room. You can attend the meeting here. You can log on via a link to the meeting over there and the meeting here. You can watch the meeting live over there. You can watch the meeting live here. You can watch tomorrow or the next day or the next day. You can log on and you can watch the meeting there. And you can also watch a rebroadcast of the meeting here. You can call in over there. You can call in. You can call in here. So I honestly don't know what, I think it is, folks are struggling to be able to log on to a link rather than turning the TV on. I think that's the issue. Because what happens there also happens here. It's just this is live TV and that's a live link. I was at the Cemetery Commission. They have a live link. I like being able to offer hybrid to all our statutory and regulatory committees. I don't know about advisory committees yet, but if there's no, this is where I land, if there's no, and I appreciate Huntley saying he doesn't want to do it, but if there's no incremental expense to having the Airport Commission live on TV here, and if it's easier for folks to access, then I'm gonna probably land there, and that's not kind of where I was headed before I heard everybody speak this evening. So we're not adding staff. We have time available, and we're not adding staff. Okay. And I do think we need to be cognizant of setting a precedent for other meetings that folks might want to have here, but, and just, I do have a comment about transparency. I do believe that those that are engaged and pay attention to the Airport Commission it's transparent. I don't understand. I think transparent is an overused word for, I don't agree with what they're doing. They're not being transparent. But in fact, you really just disagree with what they're doing. So getting here in this room allows folks to understand better what they're doing and have it be more transparent, then so be it. If they believe that's more transparent, so be it. So I would support. And the other thing that got me this evening was the Airport Commission was here pre-COVID. It was here. So I think prior select boards thought it important enough to have it on camera here and, pre-COVID, and then, so anyway.
Well, I suspect what drove that, you were on the board for a part of that time. I suspect what drove it was the skydiving issue. That's why.
Yeah, we had many a hearing on skydiving.
But I don't know. I'm
I'm
sorry, I
done.
interrupted you.
I honestly think, push comes to shove, I think the use of the word transparent is overused, overwrought. I don't know how the Airport Commission can be any more transparent than what they're doing. Thanks.
I have a philosophical problem with calling the Airport Commission a regulatory. I want to have a policy that includes the Airport Commission. I would say the following regulatory boards, which are the ones listed here, the 5 or 6, plus the Airport Commission or whatever other ones you want to add. There's a responsibility on a citizen to take an interest in government. You don't show up at town meeting or at the polls on election day and vote based on hearsay around town because you didn't bother to listen to follow meetings where you have every opportunity to follow them or read the newspapers. And that bothers me. And we shouldn't be formulating town policy on that basis because some people who do that, who do follow what we do, would like to get other people more engaged in it. Well, that's not my job as a select board member. It's the responsibility of the individual. So I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about this one because I think we're setting a bad precedent if we open this up to the Airport Commission. And I'm not sure that I really want to support this. But anyway, we've had conversation, discussion. Unless there's more, I'll entertain whatever motion somebody wants to make, either on the policy or the Airport Commission. If you want more discussion on this policy, it looks okay to me. If you want to add the Airport Commission or any other body, we have to have an effective date to be inserted in the policy. But anyway, Stuart, go ahead.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what has been said. You've already heard me. I won't repeat it. This is about I do think a lot of the information is out there about the airport, and people have a responsibility to take a look at that. This will only help that. And it's not displacing anybody. The room is literally empty. It means moving about 25 feet to that wall. And I don't think that's a big lift. So I'll support the policy, and I'd like to add the Airport Commission to the policy.
Is that a motion?
Sure, yes.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion?
Point of order?
You can't, who was asking a point of order? Only a member of this body can ask a point of order, but make a point of order. But do you have a question? If you want to frame it as, yeah, please come to them.
Thank you. Will this mean then that we will be the only statutory committee or commission that will be televised?
Yes, I think so, unless the board wants to add others. One thing you could do in the policy, I'll get to you in a second, Stuart. One thing you could have in the policy is to say that the board may from time to time require non-regular, other committees or commissions to televise their meetings, and then you take a separate vote whenever you want to for the airport commission or whatever other body. But I just throw that out if you want to do it that way. But yes, and then, as I see it, I think that's, but Stuart, you wanted to comment on.
Well, I was just going to answer Huntley's question. He and I chatted earlier about relating to this. And you've heard, I disagree on that interpretation because the Airport Commission is a statutory, as you point out correctly, is a statutory commission. It has regulatory authority, and that is, I believe, identical to the ones that are listed here in the policy. If where you're headed is, are there others? Yes, there are others. And I think I'd be interested in if the facilities were available, adding the others to this. I think that the more public participation we can have, I think is a good thing. The chairmans have control of the committee. If it gets, you've pointed out some issues, hey, shut off the mic, tell them to leave. I mean, the chairmans control these meetings. So I don't think that will be an issue. We're really literally talking about moving from that meeting room to this meeting room, and it's empty. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Huntley?
Well, it does, but I still see this as a small group of individuals setting town policy.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there's a motion on the table that's been seconded to approve the policy as is with the addition of the Airport Commission as a separate category. I think that's...
Well, I was envisioning just adding to this list right here.
So you're proposing that it be listed as a regulatory commission?
Only because it is. Now, if you want a separate,
I'll let you guys debate that, because
hold on, I have the floor, I think.
Yeah, you do.
If you're more comfortable making the Airport Commission somehow separate in this policy, but they'll still be, fine with that, I don't care.
Well, we need to have the motion clarified. I'm not sure which way I'm going to vote on this period, but...
Well, like I said, I'm just trying to make it more palatable for people, so if that's more palatable, I have no objection to that. I'll make we can listen to it.
You want to speak to the...
I don't
We're debating the motion that was offered.
Yeah, we are, and I don't believe the Airport Commission ought to be listed as one of the regulatory bodies here in the town of Chatham. I think the policy can read, at the discretion of the Select Board, a statutory committee could be televised.
Could be directed to
Could be directed to be televised.
You want to make that as an amendment to your motion?
And I have, certainly, and I have no objection to that, as long as the understanding is that the Airport Commission is going to be.
Well, I think you would take a separate vote.
That's fine.
I'm fine with the amendment.
Okay, it's been amended and seconded. The amendment's been seconded. Okay, so the motion is to adopt this policy with the language that Mr. Dykens offered. Okay, and it doesn't specifically recite the Airport Commission. We'll take a second, we'll entertain if this passes, we'll entertain a second motion. And we'll put today's date in there, Kathy, because there's a blank in there for the insertion of the date. Okay, that clear? All right, I'll call the roll on this. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Now, does someone want to offer a motion pursuant to that authority?
I would like to make a motion pursuant to the authority we just enacted, that the Airport Commission move their meetings from the little meeting room over here to this room here, and it be televised.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that motion? I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Chair votes no. 4-1. It will be televised. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a discussion on the committee reappointment process for 2026. So, Kathy?
Yes.
This is yours.
Yes. It's that time of year where we are going to discuss what the Select Board would like to do regarding upcoming reappointments. As in January, I sent out letters to all town committee board commission members who have terms set to expire June 30th, asking them to notify me of their intent to seek reappointment with the deadline of March 31st. There are 81 members in total that are up for reappointment across all of the town's boards and commissions and committees. These numbers actually updated today, so there are 54 members expressing interest in seeking reappointment, 6 not interested, and 21 members have not responded. So I've included the part of the handbook that discusses what is outlined for, interview processes and in terms of incumbents and new applicants, which we do have a handful of new applicants for some of these seats. Last year, we did do also a slate of all the advisory committees that did not have any new applicants, and that seemed to go very smoothly to just say, here are all the people that would like to be reappointed, but there's no one seeking those seats either. So I guess I'm looking for the board to provide some guidance on what you would like to do this year and who you would like to interview and how you would like to proceed.
So last year, you presented, let's separate these into the advisory committees versus the non-advisory committees. So the advisory committees, we did not interview incumbent members who sought to be reappointed unless, and I don't think we had any circumstance,
There were, I think, 2.
where someone was applying for the same position.
Yes.
There was no vacancy, but it was,
Yes.
someone wanted to be reappointed and there was an alternative candidate. So we interviewed the incumbent as well as that. That's one situation. Then we have the regulatory commissions, the non-advisory commissions, we'll call it that, I'm sorry. But we've always, this is where it means something, Stuart.
It is, yeah.
Where we interview, we've had this policy forever where we have to interview every incumbent of a regulatory commission, which means we've interviewed Frank Messina 15 times or whatever. I keep throwing him out as the example. But how many of those do we have? Is it 26, you say? Incumbent members of regulatory boards that want to be,
Of regulatory.
and we did include the airport commission in this.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sorry, I didn't have that prepared, but I can count.
And the Affordable Housing Trust was included, too.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21. 23, 24, 25, about 26, yes. So there'd be
Okay.
26.
They have asked to be reappointed.
Yes, and some of them do have applicants for those seats as well, on some of those.
What do we want to do? Do we want to interview all 26 of these folks plus the applicants?
You're talking about applicants for positions on regulatory committees. And where there are new applicants that we've never interviewed before, I think it's our responsibility to interview those folks if they're applying for it. When there's an opening, if there's no opening, what are we doing?
Well, technically, you could, and theoretically,
We could appoint the new applicant.
and not reappoint the current person. So we've always.
I just want to avoid interviewing Frank Messina for the 16th time. I just want to avoid it. It's just such a waste of our time.
Stuart.
I agree. I think it's a silly evolution that I've watched now for a year and watched since 20 years ago when it was instituted. I didn't understand it then. To interview people just for the sake of interviewing is literally a waste of our time and their time.
I mean, we could extract names that we might want to interview. Of course, then you're singling somebody out.
But we do that with, like, the consent agenda, if somebody wants to bring something in on that, we say, hey, I'd like to raise that. And I think that's the appropriate way. If I had an issue with somebody who was applying, but there was, I would have no problem saying, yeah, I'd like to interview them.
Okay. Corey?
You're not going to like me. For regulatory, I would almost interview everyone because, Stuart hasn't had a chance to interview Frank 15 times. And next year, the new person's going to be able to interview someone. So it's a big number, but it's not a ridiculously big number. For regulatory, I think we should kind of have to do our due diligence. Does someone change their position? Is someone serving to the best of their capacity, capability? Sorry, the regulatory committees. I think it's part of the task we have. It's part of our duty.
What is your response to the suggestion that has been discussed here where we could pull a name out? You think someone's not doing their job or there's some question about it?
Then I feel like we're being very selective. We should do a kind of consistent policy. Why did I get pulled out? Is there a problem? Why are you interviewing me and not the 7 other people, who are applying for the committees? It creates a little bit of an awkward scenario.
We have this conversation every.
I know.
We wind up doing the same crazy thing every year too. Shireen, you're going off. You're probably not going to have to
I'm not
deal
going
with
to
much of
comment
this.
on this, and I'll probably abstain from
So,
voting as well.
You don't want to offer your
No.
experienced advice?
Well, I can say exactly what everybody else says, is we ended up doing the same thing every time, and it was mostly about not hurting somebody's feelings by calling them in. But everybody's professional, and that's standard practice to do. And it might not be about having an issue with them, but hearing more of substance about some of the work or what they feel might be an evaluation of the committee. So I would,
What if an incumbent wanted to be interviewed? Do we entertain that request?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we have to, just the context here is if we were to interview all these 26, are we going to have some marathon? We had a marathon session or 2 last year. I didn't particularly care for it, but we did. And then we try to pile them on for an hour before the meetings and have 4 o'clock meetings or 4:30 meetings, and that makes it tough too.
So my hope is after tonight to start, since I have pretty much the list, and, if the select board would also like to consider those who did not respond, am I considering them still are you considering them? Am I reaching out again? I mean, they had from January 5th to March 31st to contact. So I guess there's that piece, but I was hoping tomorrow to start with the ones who were yeses to start scheduling before to kind of I think we can fit comfortably 3 incumbents. The board tended last year to get 10 minutes with again, because you've interviewed them all repeatedly, you were able to kind of move through those incumbent interviews a little faster. So my hope was, based on direction tonight, to start as soon as possible to get them before, like the typical interview scheduled before your regular meeting at 4:30.
Have you?
Or 5, sorry.
You've begun contacting some committees where people have not responded.
I did my last kind of reach out to those non-respondents prior to creating the report. So anybody who had not responded has gotten yet another email, phone call.
All of them?
I believe so, yes. I don't have my master, all my
Okay.
notes scribbled on it, but yes.
Yeah, I did. I mean, you and I talked the other
Yes.
day. I didn't know whether you had
With-
gone down the whole list or not.
Yeah, and I did,
You
did
did.
my best to get through as many as I could. So it was mostly all of the list, except for maybe 1 or 2 people that I
Okay.
think we were
Mr.
holding. And
Chairman, question. Whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, I'm fine.
21 members did not respond.
Correct.
Do we know that they got the notice?
We don't, and that's another question. I mean, I mailed them rather than email and calling because I know my email sometimes spam filters and my phone number comes up as a spam risk. So I try to be cognizant of that. So I initially started with a letter. Some people did acknowledge they got them late, and I did get 1 or 2 of I just got it today, which unfortunately, that happens sometimes. But the phone calls and emails, I've emailed almost. The ones that I've emailed, I had previous email correspondence with, so hopefully they didn't end up in the junk filters, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Technology. And the chair people of these 21 people, have they reached out to the,
So staff liaisons and chairs were notified that the letters went out to all of their boards and committees. All staff liaisons asked who was up. I think I have correspondence with almost all of them saying, who do I need to notify? But it was clearly
Yeah.
expressed to both the staff liaisons and the chairs that it's that time of year. I'm sending it now. Here's,
I mean, Stephen Daniel on the Finance Committee, he's quite diligent about.
So that one is an
pursuing-
exception because it's the moderator. So I'm talking only the ones that are the select.
No, I understand that. But what my point was that Stephen Daniel, the chairman of the Finance Committee, he polices his members, as the chairperson should, and says, hey, you got to get your reappointment, you got to take your ethics test, you got to do whatever. And those chair people of these committees should be doing that. I'm assuming they are, but I don't even know who they all are.
Some do. I think
the
Mr. Messina
majority
does, for
do.
example. I think he does that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not at all these
I don't know
committee
how many,
meetings,
but-
but I think that's important. Maybe we include that in our draft whenever we get to that. And are we talking, just so the public is digesting this, are we actually talking about 54 members have expressed an interest in seeking reappointment, and we're going to be interviewing 54 people for the?
No, so
Or is it
it would be, so if you, again, take that advisory column and the non-advisory, when you split that out.
Yeah.
26 of them fall in the non-advisory. The rest that are advisory, I would prepare a slate of incumbents as I did last year, which the board seemed to facilitate that process faster because it was just a list of all the names. And those were the people, as Mr. Dykens said, that were seeking reappointment and did not have anybody seeking a seat.
Competitor.
Or competitor, yes.
Then, well, 26 is a lot. So and there'll be my last question. When you send these notices out and you say, your point, do you copy the chairperson?
So the emails were sent like snail mail. Or the letters were sent snail mail. Typically, for reappointment, like when they're sworn in, like after you all take action, yes, the chair, the staff liaison. So once someone's appointed or
I mean, these letters.
these letters, they were not copied. Like I said, I sent kind of I've sent it and here's like a sample. I think I sent like a blank sample of what the letter was without the address information, but they were all made aware.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull the feet to the fire of our chair people who should be managing, directing, and their members on their
Perhaps
committee.
next year I put a read receipt on it so that I can
Right.
definitely tell you who
Registered letters.
read it and who didn't.
Jeff?
Just have a quick question for Kathy. Kathy, and you do this administrative stuff. Do you see any ways we can be more efficient in terms of doing our work? Do you have any suggestions, any comments, or any suggestions?
I think moving to the slate was helpful last year and having that list. I think I'm happy to provide, I have it broken down, and I'm happy to give you the list of the non-advisory committee members who are yeses, and compile, any of the committees that, and break it out by who has new applicants pending and who doesn't, so that you have a more comprehensive picture. I didn't quite get to that for
That's
this
okay.
report, but I can definitely provide that information for you as the board to decide. I think that might be another area because I do think scheduling always ends up being the bane of our existence in terms of these interviews because there are so many. And as Chair Nicastro stated, it's a little difficult to get because I know the board likes to have the full complement when doing the interviews. So that might be another thing to look at. Do you really need the full complement? If I can get 2 board members because that is what is required, perhaps that would help facilitate that a little faster. But those would probably be my 2 biggest pieces.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we tried to get the regulatory people in place because those boards have to issue permits and hear applications. We always hear about that. As far as how many of this board should be present, we've sort of, I think more than sort of, I think we've established the precedent. It's in the policy, I think, that for regulatory boards, we want a quorum of this board, of this full board here present. So if we don't have 3 people, we don't interview someone for the zoning board or the planning board or those. But if we have, it's just an advisory committee, we require 2, and that's the subcommittee. I don't know if the board wants to make a change in that direction or not. They do it differently. I think in Harwich, I've read in the papers, they have like a subcommittee on appointments, and they make a recommendation to the full board. I don't think the full board interviews everybody. This is Corey, I'm sorry.
Well, first, no change, I think, on a regulatory, as long as we have a quorum, 3 is fine, 2 for advisory, it's worked, I think we're fine. A lot of times, the majority of us are there,
Yeah.
so it hasn't really been an
Most of the
issue,
time,
so-
all of us are there.
Quite often. Question on the 21 people who have not responded. Is it spread out broadly between all the committees? Is it heavy in one or two committees? And is it individuals who are served for quite some time and maybe they're not sure if they want to continue? Like, I'm trying to get a read of where we might be headed here.
It's spread across the board. I mean, you have one junior member of the Affordable Housing Trust, but then you have someone who has been on, I'm trying to see if there's somebody else in here that I haven't heard from. You've got some members of the Railroad Museum Committee that have been on for a while, or, it's kind of spread throughout.
Okay, no.
Pretty evenly.
These are non-respondents.
Non-respondents, yes. And I know at least one was kind of pending, they had a family thing, kind of, they were waiting to see, so I kind of have them starred, but they technically count as.
Can I take this in steps? Let's take the question first about whether we want to continue the practice of requiring at least 3 members of the select board to interview regulatory.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
the traditionally
Yes.
considered regulatory committees. And is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, and then 2 for any of the other committees.
Yes.
We could ask whether the airport commission what have we done with that? I guess we've never really had the problem. Can't recall we had a lack of a quorum of 3 on the airport commission.
Again, for most of our interviews, there's either most or all of us are here, so, yeah, it has not been an issue.
So would we be continuing the practice of interviewing, say, Frank Messina? He seems.
Well, that was going to be the next step, the next question to resolve. I wanted to get the quorum out of the way first. So the sense is we would continue what we've been doing in that regard. Okay, now the next question is, what do we do about the 26 people that are on these regulatory commissions that have applied for reappointment? Some of them might have a competitor candidate, a competitor applicant. Some may not, most may not.
I'm looking right now, I know the Affordable Housing Trust has, I believe, one that I've seen that has, and it's like trying to also take into consideration the unknowns and the no's, but I know for a fact the Affordable Housing Trust, I know for a fact somebody had applied either for zoning or planning, but I'm blanking on which one specifically, but.
What if we ask Kathy to give us next week the list of the names, these 26 people, which committees they're on, indicate which ones have other applicants, and then we can decide. I know, Corey, you want to interview them all.
I don't want to.
I know, nobody
I just think it's the duty because.
No, I know.
This board
You
has.
made that point.
This board has, not reappointed certain individuals, who don't have a, don't have a contested situation because of one thing or another. So I just like to have a consistent policy. I get the interviews that do you have any question? No, you're good? Okay, good. We've done dozens of them.
Would you be willing to defer the decision on this till next week?
Yes.
When we get the
Yes.
list?
Yes.
Then we can make, are you okay with that? I'm suggesting we get that list of.
That's fine. I guess I had another question.
Sure.
I'm not sure I'm the originator of this, 'cause I think I read it. So these people are up, when are they up for?
So their terms are all ending June 30th, 2026.
So they don't get reappointed, they don't vote, right? I mean,
They're off.
They're off.
yeah. I mean, they show up in July to a meeting.
Well, They can't sit up here.
Right,
Or
right.
in there, wherever they're going to meet.
I think that,
They'll be notified. that they're-
Okay.
They're notified, and the chairs and the staff
Chairs-
liaisons are notified
Chair of the
as well.
board sends.
yeah, the chair of the board is very important to get into this loop because they are ultimately in charge of this. these
But the chair of the select board writes a letter to anybody that wasn't reappointed.
We have a
Well, if they're not reading they're not responding, I'm not sure they're.
They wouldn't get a letter probably. And
So
if you
anyway.
show up, you can say, I'm sorry.
We send it.
You're off.
Looping the chairs, we'll have better luck, I think.
Okay, so we'll bring that one back next week, and then we'll make a decision as to what we would do with these 26. Is there anything else we need to know or do? Okay. All right. Time for the last motion of the night.
It's a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. We are adjourned at 8:53 PM. Good night, Chatham.